The voicemail from the story. I got a voicemail from my mom, but she died in 1999. Nathan hadn't used the landline in over a decade. It was mounted on the kitchen wall, one of those old beige cordless sets from the 90s, yellowing with age. His mother used to wipe it down every Sunday, back when she believed everything had to be spotless, even the parts of life that didn't work anymore. Now it was just a dead thing, or so he thought. It rang once. He froze, staring at it from across. The kitchen like it was something alive. Then it rang again. He looked down at his cell. No missed calls. Nothing on silent. The landline kept ringing, its mechanical buzz echoing like something unholy in the quiet house. Nathan stepped closer. His heartbeat picked up in a weird, uncomfortable rhythm. Voicemail, one new message. The screen read, impossible. The power cord was frayed and unplugged. He'd meant to throw it out. He reached for it anyway, hands shaking slightly, though he wasn't sure why. Just old house nerves, he told himself. Drafts and ghosts of memories. He pressed play. First came the static, long scraping static like someone was dragging their fingernails across a microphone. Then a voice. Nathan, sweetheart, listen to me carefully. He almost dropped the phone. It was her voice. His mother, not a recording, not something old he'd forgotten. The voice was recent, alive, panicked. Don't go near the basement. I locked it for a reason. He's still down there. A loud bang cut through the message. Something heavy hitting metal. There was shuffling, then another voice. Male, distorted, almost inside out. He's listening. And just like that, the message ended. Nathan stared at the screen. Message received, June 3rd, 1999. He swallowed hard. That date wasn't just wrong. It was the date. The night the house caught fire. The night they pulled her body from the ashes. The night he promised himself he'd never return here, except life had other plans. Divorce, job loss, money, all. Roads led back to the house he grew up in. The one he swore he'd never step foot in again. Now here he was. And the house wasn't just remembering. It was speaking. He dropped the phone on the counter and backed away slowly. That's when the lights flickered. Every bulb in the house dimmed, flared, then buzzed back to life. The fridge roared like it had just been punched. The radio in the living room, long broken, crackled on, blaring static. Then it started playing her favorite hymn, Nearer, My God, to Thee. Nathan's breath caught, and then knock, knock, knock. Not at the front door, from the basement. The air shifted, thicker, heavy with something that wasn't just memory. He stepped toward the hallway without meaning to. His body felt like it was being pulled, like some invisible thread was tugging at his ribs. The basement door stood at the end of the hallway, plain, white, harmless, except the deadbolt was sliding open on its own. Click, click, clunk. The handle turned. The door creaked open 2 inches. Then stopped. Nathan felt his legs lock in place. He couldn't move, couldn't think, only feel. A deep, pulsing cold poured from the gap, colder than winter, colder than death. He reached for his phone, just needing to hear another human voice. Someone sane, someone real. As he lifted it, the screen lit up. New voicemail. Caller ID. Mom. He didn't press play. Not yet. Instead, he backed away from the basement and slammed the door shut, clicking the deadbolt back into place. The second it closed, he heard it. Breathing. Not his own. Not animal. Something bigger. Slow. Wet. Behind the door. Then something scratched once, just once, like a nail dragging down the wood. Nathan stumbled into the living room, sat on the floor, phone in his lap, hands on his head. He hadn't cried in years. But right then, the pressure behind his eyes felt unbearable. Grief wasn't supposed to call you. Dead mothers weren't supposed to leave voicemails. He sat there for hours, light shifting from late afternoon to dusky grey. The house silent now, too silent. The radio had cut off by itself. The air felt dead. His phone buzzed again. A text, this time. Unknown number. No contact. Just a single message. Listen to it before midnight, or he gets out. Nathan didn't breathe for 5 full seconds. Then slowly, he clicked voicemail. Her voice again, but different, calmer, sad. I know you're scared. I was too. But you have to remember what happened. The truth, Nathan. You locked it out of your head, but it's still here, still waiting. She paused, her breath caught. He said if I told you he'd take you, that was the deal. But I can't protect you anymore. I broke the rules, sweetheart. I'm sorry. Then another sound, something hard falling. A gasp, and then a whisper. He remembers you. The message ended. Nathan didn't move for a long time. The room felt smaller now. The air harder to swallow. Somewhere behind him, a door creaked open again. He didn't turn around. The forgotten door. The message on the wall was still fresh. Not written, scratched. Each letter dug deep. White paint flaked off in curls, the grooves dark and jagged like they'd been carved by broken fingernails or worse, teeth. You let him out once. You'll do it again. Nathan stared at it. That line clawed straight through his memory. Let him out. He hadn't let anyone out. He'd barely remembered the basement existed until today. He stood frozen in the hallway, his ears ringing, trying to hold on to something logical. Anything. A dream. A prank. Sleep deprivation. But he couldn't deny the voicemail. Or the voice. Or the fact that his mum had died on that very date, June 3rd, 1999. And now a message from her had somehow appeared, time-stamped from that same night. None of it made sense, which was somehow worse than if it had. He didn't sleep, not that night. Instead, he sat on the living room couch with a kitchen knife and a bottle of warm beer, staring at the basement door like it might move again. It didn't. But around 3:14 a.m. he heard whispering. Not words, just soft shapes of sound, syllables without language, bleeding through the floorboards. Then something walked across the basement. Heavy, slow steps. Not rats, something with weight. It stopped directly, beneath him. He held his breath, then came a single knock from under the floorboards. By morning, Nathan was hollow. He looked like he hadn't eaten in days. When sunlight finally broke through the stained curtains, he ran to the kitchen and opened every cabinet, searching for something, anything, to explain all this. And he found it, stuffed behind old dishware sealed in a plastic freezer bag, a tiny black cassette tape. It was labeled in neat handwriting. His mother's, "Don't play this unless I'm gone." His fingers went numb. He dug through the hall closet until he found the old tape recorder. Miraculously, it still had batteries. He sat on the couch and pressed play. Her voice, again. But this time it was the mom he remembered, calm, gentle. "If you're hearing this, then I'm dead. And if I'm dead, you need to know the truth." A pause. Then a long, shaky breath. "Your father wasn't who you thought he was." Nathan's spine stiffened. His dad had died in the fire, too. He was never really part of Nathan's memories. Distant, harsh, always cold, and then gone. There's a reason you don't remember him clearly. There's a reason we sealed the basement. The tape crackled. He used to say, there was a door under the foundation. One no one else could see but him. Said it whispered things to him, told him secrets, promises. Nathan's breath caught. He started changing. First little things, voices, strange smells. Then animals started dying near the house. One day he said the door had fed on something. I didn't understand then. Another pause. "Until you got sick." Nathan blinked. "Sick?" He didn't remember being sick. "We tried to run. I locked the basement. He said I'd starve it, that it needed you next." The tape's static surged for a moment, like something trying to cut her off. He opened the door. Nathan. He let it in. I think he made a deal. That's why the fire happened. She was crying now, her voice shaky. I died trying to keep it down there. You survived because I made sure you forgot. Then came the last sentence, whispered barely, audible. He's still down there. Not your father anymore, just what's left of him, and he remembers you. Click. Tape over. Nathan sat completely still. Every part of his body felt foreign, like his bones didn't fit anymore. A door under. The house? A deal? His father? Possessed? Consumed? He needed proof. Real proof. So he got up, walked slowly to the hallway, stopped in front of the basement door, and unlocked it. The stairs creaked as he descended, flashlight in one hand, knife in the other. The smell hit him halfway down. Old rot. Damp concrete. And something else, like rust and animal breath. The beam of the flashlight scanned across the walls. Everything was just as he remembered. Concrete shelves, stacks of yellowed boxes, a rusted boiler in the corner. But then he saw it, behind the old water heater, hidden beneath a rotten tarp. A trap door, wooden, blackened around the edges, carved with symbols that made his stomach twist just looking at them. He leaned closer, no handle, no hinges, just a metal lock, already broken. Nathan swallowed hard. It wasn't just a door, it was a seal, and someone had already opened it. Then came the sound, a dry breath from below the door, then a whisper, clear as if someone stood an inch from his ear. "Nathan!" He stumbled back. The flashlight flickered, once, twice, then died. Everything went black. Then the trap door opened from below. He scrambled up the stairs, tripping, hitting his shin so hard he nearly passed out, then slammed the basement door. Shut behind him. He locked it, wedged a chair under the handle, moved the fridge in front of the door for good measure. And still, he heard the creaking below. He heard it laugh. That night, he left the house, drove into town, booked a motel. He didn't sleep, not out of fear, but because the dream started before he even closed his eyes. A door, his mother, fire, his father, faceless, mouth full of ash. And the worst part? Something smiling behind them, watching, always watching. At 3:33 a.m., his phone buzzed. Another voicemail. No caller ID, just silence. Then faint sobbing. His mother. Then a whisper. "You have to finish what I started." And then, "He knows you're listening." The line went dead. Nathan looked out the motel window. In the parking lot, across from his car, stood a man too tall, skin too pale, hands too long, not moving, just watching. Nathan didn't breathe, didn't blink, and when he finally turned to grab his phone and looked back, the man was gone. But on the window, written, in the condensation, "Open the door," buried in the ashes. The next morning, Nathan sat in the motel bathroom with the door locked and the shower running, not to bathe, but to drown out the whispers. They'd started just after sunrise, soft at first, then urgent, voices leaking. From his phone, from the drain, from inside the walls, they all said the same thing. "You left him down there." He looked at the scratches on his arm. They'd turned black overnight. The skin around them was angry, swollen, not like an infection, more like something was still in there, crawling beneath the surface. He pressed around them. Pain bloomed. Instantly, then something shifted beneath his skin. He almost threw up. Nathan needed help, not a priest, not a therapist. He needed someone who remembered, someone who'd been there, someone who hadn't burned in the fire. There was only one person. Aunt Lorraine, his mom's older sister, the one who refused to come to the funeral, who moved states away and never answered letters. His mother had once said, "Lorraine knows too much to be close." It was time to find out what she meant. Woodland Oak's retirement home smelled like cough syrup and wilting carnations. Nathan sat in a stiff chair in the visiting lounge as an orderly wheeled Lorraine in. She was older than he remembered, thin as paper, hands knotted with arthritis. But her eyes, they were sharp, too sharp. The moment she saw him, she stopped. "No," she said. "You shouldn't be here. He'll follow you in." Nathan didn't even ask who he was. He just said, "I opened the basement door." Her face fell. "God help you." Lorraine refused to speak until they were alone, in the rose garden behind the home. Only then did she say, "Your mother was the only one brave enough to fight him." "Fight who?" "Your father." She looked at him with eyes full of sorrow. But not just him, what he brought back, what he fed. Nathan felt his throat close. "You're saying it's real?" She nodded. "Real as death, real as what's under your skin right now." He blinked. "How do you know about—" Lorraine reached into her coat pocket and pulled out an old Polaroid, faded and yellowed. It showed the basement before the fire. There in the middle of the floor, a boy, Nathan, no more than 6, standing next to a chalk circle. Behind him, something dark, something tall and half visible, like it wasn't meant to be photographed, eyes like burned-out stars. "That, a thing," Lorraine whispered, "is still in your bloodline." Lorraine told him everything. In 1999, his father, a construction foreman, found something buried beneath the foundation during a remodel. A sealed stone box. Ancient. Cold. Inside it, nothing but black ash and a ring of teeth. He brought it home, called it a gift, said it was older than names. Within weeks he changed. He stopped sleeping. He started hearing voices through the floor. Then came the sacrifices. Small at first, a squirrel nailed to the wall. Then a neighbor's cat. Then Nathan got sick. His mother tried to destroy the box. Burn it, bury it, nothing worked, so she made a deal, one last ritual, one last fire, to trap it below, along with her husband. She succeeded. But the price was her life, and Nathan's memory. She severed your connection, made you forget it. All, Lorraine said. But that seal was temporary. It needed someone with your blood to wake it back up. Nathan's voice cracked. "So I'm the key." "No," she said. "You're the door." That night back at the motel, Nathan stared at himself in the mirror. Something moved behind his eyes. A flicker, a second shadow. He tried to sleep. Couldn't. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw his father. Face melting like wax. Voice like dirt being poured into a coffin. "Open it again, son, just once more." At 2:57 a.m., the power went out. The motel lights died. The TV blinked off. And his phone buzzed again. Voicemail. No number. His hands shook as he played it. This time it wasn't his mother. It was his own voice, desperate, crying. "It's still in me. I can't stop it. Please, kill me before I open it again." Then, a scream. His scream. Cut off by something wet. Nathan stood outside the motel minutes later, barefoot, holding only his car keys and the cassette tape. He knew what he had to do. He had to go back to the house. He had to face it, not to run from it, not to bury it again, but to find the truth buried under all that ash. The house was darker than he remembered, windows fogged, lights out. But the front door, wide open. Inside, the basement door was no longer blocked. The fridge had been dragged aside, the chair snapped in half, and the trapdoor was waiting, open, breathing. As he stepped inside, the air turned thick, the hallway grew longer. Walls bled with water stains that weren't there before, and on the staircase, in flickering shadow, his father stood, still human-shaped, but wrong, joints too loose, neck tilted back, face blank, except for the smile. "Son," it gurgled. "I'm proud of you." Nathan didn't speak. He raised the cassette tape. "This ends tonight." The thing screamed, not with lungs, but with memory. The sound made the windows burst and blood leak from Nathan's ears. He dove for the basement. Down the stairs, past the shelves, to the trapdoor, still open. Inside, a well of black nothing, but he could feel it pulsing, feel it inside him. The thing had been feeding on his fear, waiting for him to come back. But now, he had something it didn't expect. A recording. Not just his mom's voice, her final spell, her last ward. He dropped the tape recorder into the pit and hit play. I died to protect him, and I die again to end you. In my voice, he is free. In my words, you are. Ash the pit screamed. The house shook. Flames erupted from the edges, but Nathan didn't run. He stood at the edge of the pit, arms wide, eyes open, and he spoke the final line his mother had recorded. I name you, and I end you. Light, heat, silence. Then, darkness. Nathan awoke. On the floor, the basement gone, the pit sealed, just concrete, dust, and silence. The scratches on his arm faded, the whispers gone. But something remained. As he walked out of the house, bleeding and broken, he saw one final thing scratched into the doorframe. The door remembers. Voices in the ash for the first time in days. Nathan slept. No nightmares, no whispers, no visions of fire, teeth, or basement shadows. When he woke, sunlight leaked through the cracked motel blinds. The sky outside was an ordinary blue. He almost believed it was over. Almost. He stood in front of the mirror, inspecting the faint pink scars where the scratches had been. The skin was smooth, whole. His face looked older somehow, exhausted, but alive. Still, something felt wrong. Too quiet. Like the air was waiting for something. His phone, long dead the night before, now sat fully charged on the nightstand. The voicemail icon blinked again. He hesitated, then pressed play. You think you sealed it? You're the door, Nathan. And doors don't just close, they open both ways. The voice wasn't his mother's. It wasn't his father's. It was his own. Only slower, distorted, like something was wearing his voice like skin. Nathan threw the phone across the room. It didn't break, just slid across the floor and landed near the door, which creaked open on its own, and there, standing in the threshold, was himself, or at least something shaped like him, pale, blank-eyed, wearing the same clothes he'd burned in the fire as a child. Its smile split too, wide. Its voice sounded like boiling water through broken glass. You left the basement, but the basement didn't leave you. Nathan backed into the bathroom, slammed the door, and locked it. His mind raced. This wasn't just trauma. This wasn't a haunting. This was possession, not of his body, of his identity. He turned on the faucet, splashed cold water on his face, then looked up, in the mirror, not his own face, but his father's, eyes bloodshot, mouth twitching in cruel delight. It's not just a spirit, son. It's memory. I was just the first container. You were always the intended one. The faucet turned red. Blood poured over his hands. Nathan fled. Out of the motel, into his car, onto the road. No plan, no destination, just the gnawing instinct that if he didn't keep moving, it would crawl into his skin again. Hours passed. Winding roads, silent towns. Eventually, he found himself parked outside an old church in a town called Ashcroft. No GPS, no memory of the drive, but the building pulled at him. It felt like the right place. Inside, it was nearly abandoned. Dust coated the pews. Stained glass windows flickered with age. But at the altar, a woman stood, mid-40s, black coat, pale blonde, hair tied back. She turned slowly, as if she'd been expecting him. "Your mother said you might come," she said. Nathan's breath caught. "You knew her." "I was her contact," she said. Before she tried to seal the door, she extended a hand. "I'm Mara, you don't know me, but I know the thing that's chasing you." In the back chapel she lit a black candle and placed a mirror in front of him. "Look," she said, "but not at yourself. Look at what's behind you." He stared. Behind. His reflection, the air, shimmered, a tall, faceless thing. Not human, not demon, just wrong. It whispered without moving. "He belongs to me." Mara snapped her fingers. The candle hissed. The image vanished. "Now you understand," she said. "This isn't just a haunting, it's inheritance." Nathan sat in stunned silence. "How do I get rid of it?" "You don't," she said. "You replace it." He stared. "There's an ancient rite, one last ritual, but it requires a choice." "What kind of choice?" She held out a photograph. A picture of Nathan, as a boy, next to a small girl, his cousin, Katie. "She's the last pure one in your line," Mara said. "Unbroken blood. If she takes your place, the spirit will be bound to her, sealed forever." Nathan's mouth went dry. "You want me to sacrifice her?" "No," Mara said. "You must ask her to sacrifice herself." He couldn't sleep that night. The motel he found near Ashcroft was even more run down. The TV buzzed with static. In the static, a face emerged. His mother's. Tears streaked her cheeks. "I died so you could live, not so you could pass it on." Nathan screamed at the screen. "What am I supposed to do?" But there was no answer, only the faint rising sound of laughter. His father's. The next morning, Nathan called Katie. She answered on the second ring. "Hey." "It's been a while," she said. Her voice was warm, familiar. He hadn't spoken to her in 10 years. Since the funeral, Nathan didn't know what to say, so he said, "I need your help." They met at a diner just outside town. Katie looked older but unchanged. The same curious eyes, the same nervous laugh. When he explained, the fire, the basement, the spirit, she didn't flinch. "I always knew something was wrong with our family," she said. "I used to hear things in my sleep, scratching, breathing." Nathan hesitated. "There's a way to end it, but—" She looked him in the eye. "You want to use me," she said softly. He felt sick. "No, I want to save you. But I don't know how to save both of us." She reached across the table and took his hand. "Then maybe we find another way." Nathan's eyes burned. For the first time since the voicemail started, he felt something break inside him. Grief, regret, shame, all of it. Maybe that's what it had been feeding on. Maybe that was the real door. That night, they returned to the house together. The basement was gone, the pit sealed, but the walls still pulsed, still remembered. They brought candles, salt, blood from both of them, mixed in a bowl with the last scrap of the tape. And in the center of the living room, they performed the rite. Not to transfer the spirit, but to trap it in memory, to seal the entire house in a place it couldn't escape. Nathan's mind. As the final words were spoken, the house began to shake. Walls peeled back like flesh. The floor opened like a screaming mouth. Nathan saw his father, twisted and inhuman, begging to be let out. He stepped forward. "I'm the door," then closed his eyes and whispered, "Now I'm the lock." Everything went white. Then silence. Nathan awoke in a hospital bed, Katie beside him, eyes red from crying. "You've been out for 2 days," she whispered. He looked at her hand, holding his, warm, real. "Did it work?" he asked. She nodded. "The house is gone. No rubble, no remains. Like it was never there." Nathan let out a breath. He felt something new, peace. But that night in his hospital room, the lights flickered just once, and a nurse walked in. Nathan didn't look up until he heard her humming. It was his mother's lullaby. He turned. The nurse smiled, and in his own voice she said, "Doors don't stay locked forever." The lock and the lie. Nathan was discharged from the hospital 2 days later. The doctors said he'd had a psychogenic seizure. That stress could do that to a person, that the visions, the voices, the ritual, it was likely just trauma manifesting as delusion. But Katie believed him, and so did he. Because since the ritual, the world had changed in small, impossible ways. For one, mirrors no longer reflected him properly. Not at first. He'd walk by and see something out of step. a lag in motion, a blink that didn't match, a smirk he never made, like his reflection was watching him back. Worse, his voice was changing, not the pitch, not the volume, but the feel. Sometimes he'd say something and swear the words came from outside of him, planted there, like a line rehearsed by someone. Else one morning a stranger approached him in the park, middle-aged, unshaven, eyes wild. "You're him," the man said, trembling. "You're the one who opened it." Nathan backed away. "Do I know you?" "I saw it," the man whispered. "The fire, the hands, crawling out of the hole in the world." Then he screamed, pointed at Nathan's chest, and ran. Katie did, her best to ground him. She brought him food, stayed over some nights, kept him from spiraling, but even she started to notice things. "You keep talking in your sleep," she said. "Last night you whispered Mom's lullaby over and over." Nathan's blood turned cold. "My mom never sang a lullaby." Katie blinked. "Yes, she did. Sleep, little ember. The smoke won't find you." Nathan froze. That wasn't a lullaby. That was a line from the voicemail he got days before the ritual. He checked his phone. No new messages. But when he clicked on the voicemail app, he found dozens of new recordings, all time-stamped for the last 3 nights, all unread, all from his own number. He played the first one. "You thought it was sealed, you thought it was gone, but you left the lock in the wrong place." Second message: "She's not your cousin, she never was. She's what came before you." Third: "Your blood was never the door, your blood was the bait." Nathan collapsed onto the floor, phone slipping from his fingers. He wanted to vomit, wanted to scream, but what came out of his mouth was a soft, humming tune. "Sleep, little ember, the smoke won't find you." He clamped a hand over his lips. The sound hadn't come from his throat. It had come from behind his teeth. That night, he confronted Katie. "I need you to tell me the truth," he said, locking the door behind them. Katie looked up from the table, confused. "What truth?" "You said we hadn't spoken in years." Nathan said, "But you knew things, personal things, things I never told anyone." Katie hesitated. Nathan stepped forward. "Like the name my mother whispered in her sleep, like the basement drawings. How did you know about those?" Katie stood up slowly. Her voice dropped. "Because I was there." And then she smiled. But not. Katie's smile, the smile from the mirror, the smile from the motel threshold. The too wide, too empty smile. Her pupils expanded. Her voice changed, like something was pressing through her face from the inside. "Your cousin died in the fire. Her soul burned out screaming, 'I used the bones.'" Nathan stumbled backward. "No, no. You helped me. You saved me." "I guided you. To the right, to the house. You closed one door, Nathan, but you opened me." Katie, or the thing wearing her, reached into her bag, pulled out a mirror the size of a dinner plate. Edges sharp, cracked. The reflection showed Nathan. Only his eyes were missing. She held it up to him. "Look," she whispered. And Nathan saw everything. He saw the night of the fire, his father screaming, his mother chanting, a child's voice, crying from the basement, not his. He saw himself standing at the top of the basement stairs, watching, not escaping, not running, choosing. He'd been part of the ritual all along, not a victim, a vessel. The fire hadn't sealed the evil, it had cooked it in. His mother had sacrificed Katie, not to destroy the entity, but to delay it, to hide it in Nathan until it could find a stronger host. And now that host was waking up, the mirror shattered. Nathan dropped to his knees, bleeding from his ears. When he looked up, Katie was gone. No, she was everywhere. Her laughter echoed from the walls. "Now do you understand, Nathan? You were never the hero. You were the cradle." He staggered into the hallway, his reflection warped in the picture frames. His shadow twisted in the wrong direction. He passed a window and saw himself outside, waving. Then a knock at the door. He opened it without thinking. Standing there was a child. 5 years old, pale, dressed in burnt pajamas. She looked up at him. "Uncle Nathan," she said. He blinked. "Who are you?" "My name is Ember," she said softly. "You forgot me in the fire." He fell back, knees buckling. This wasn't possible. There was no child, no niece, no— The girl touched his forehead, and suddenly he remembered Ember, not a cousin, not a niece, his daughter, born in secret, raised in hiding, a product of the original rite. He'd erased her from memory as part of the spell. But she had survived. In the smoke, in the voices, in the basement, and now she wanted him to remember what he had done. "You gave me to the dark, Daddy," she whispered. "Now it's your turn to hold it." The floor split beneath him. Blackness roared up from the seams. Every light bulb burst. Nathan fell, not through space, but through memory. The fire, the screams, his mother whispering, "He'll be strong, enough to carry it one day." And then, a crib engulfed in smoke, a hand reaching in, his hand. He woke up lying in a hallway that didn't belong to any house he knew. It stretched on forever. Pictures of him lined the walls, different ages, different smiles. At the far end, a single door. He got up, walked toward it. Each step felt heavier, the floor sticky like wet ash. When he opened the door, he saw himself sitting in a chair, eyes sewn shut, mouth open, whispers leaking from his throat. The other Nathan turned slowly. "Welcome home," he said, and behind him 1,000 hands reached out from the walls. She was never gone. Nathan didn't scream, he didn't run, he just stared at the other version of himself, the one with no eyes, no lips, only that endless whisper pouring out like gas from a cracked valve. The whispers were saying his name over and over. "Nathan, Nathan, Nathan, come back, come back, come back." Behind the eyeless Nathan, the 1,000 hands moved. Like seaweed underwater, long, bone-thin, drenched in black ash. They didn't reach for him, not yet. He stepped inside. The door slammed shut behind him. Immediately, he felt the air thicken, like he was underwater or dreaming through mud. His heart pounded, but the sound came from the floor beneath him, from the walls, from inside the walls. He looked at the version of himself sitting in the chair, its mouth opened wider, and then he spoke. "You killed her." Nathan took a step back. No, I tried to." "You watched the flames, you chose the silence." The walls shifted. The hands began to claw at the photos lining the room, peeling back the images. Underneath each one was another version of him, crying, bleeding, screaming, each one frozen at different ages, each one staring right at him. Nathan dropped to his knees. He was shaking now, not from fear, from recognition. He saw it, the truth his mind had buried years ago. It wasn't the fire that created the evil. It was what they fed to it, a bloodline, a soul, a child. Ember, his daughter. Not just a product of the rite, but the intended sacrifice. The ritual required a vessel from the bloodline to contain the entity. His mother had chosen Ember. But Nathan let it happen. He stood at the top of the stairs and heard her scream. He let the fire consume the room. He sealed the door and walked away because she was born from a ritual, because she wasn't supposed to exist, but she did, and she remembered. The air cracked. Something shrieked behind the walls. The chair exploded into ash, and from the smoke Ember stepped forward, not the child version, the full form, taller now, her face pale as moonlight, hair long and black, eyes hollow but glowing faintly. Red. She moved like wind through leaves, fast, silent, wrong. "You left me in the dark," she said. Her voice wasn't angry. It was disappointed. "You let them make me a thing, a vessel, a prison. You locked me in a place where even the dead wouldn't go." Nathan sobbed. "I didn't know. I was a kid. I didn't remember." She tilted her head. "But you remember now." The shadows twisted. The room turned upside down. He was suddenly on the ceiling, crawling through fire that wasn't hot but cold. Every step burned with memory. The night he sealed the basement door, the moment he looked into the flames and felt relief. "I should destroy you," Ember whispered, "but I want you to feel it first." The hands from the walls began to move again. They didn't grab him, they grabbed her, and with them she shed her childlike form, revealing the thing inside. The smoke, the voice, the entity, the thing his mother had feared, the thing that lived in the voicemail. The true horror. It wasn't Ember that haunted him. It was the thing that took her shape, the same force his family had spent generations keeping caged in the bloodline. It had worn Ember like a skin, and now it was done hiding. "You were never the target," it said. "You were the key. She was the lock." Nathan stood frozen. "What do you want from me?" An ending. Suddenly he was back in the basement. Same scorched walls, same chalk runes half melted into the floor. But this, in a time, he wasn't alone. Katie was there, tied to a chair, duct tape over her mouth. Blood running down her arm. Behind her stood Ember. Ember, or whatever was left of her. She held a knife. "One more sacrifice," she whispered. "One more lock." Nathan rushed forward. "No, please, don't hurt her. She's not real," Ember said calmly. "She's a memory stitched into your brain. A helper, a handler. She was never alive. I made her." Nathan blinked. "What?" "You needed someone to lead you to the truth. So I built one, from scraps of guilt, a cousin that never existed. She never told you her last name, did she?" Nathan collapsed to his knees. Katie, the kindness, the timing, the way she knew things only his subconscious did. She wasn't real. She was the bait to bring him here. "And now that you're here," the voice hissed, "you have two choices." The knife floated to Nathan's hands. "Stab her and close the gate again, or stab yourself and set us free." He looked at Katie, or the memory of her. She looked terrified, but something in her eyes said, "Do it." Tears burned down his face. He gripped the knife. "She was never real. Neither was your forgiveness." And he drove the blade into his own chest. Silence, then fire, but not from the world. From inside him, the blood that leaked from the wound didn't hit the floor. It rose, spiraled upward like smoke, and inside the smoke were eyes, dozens. Hundreds, watching, blinking, weeping, and then was dissolving. The basement cracked, the air hissed, and the smoke screamed, but not in rage, in defeat. Because this time, the vessel refused. The floor caved in. Nathan fell into a pit of ash and teeth and light. He saw faces from the past, his mother, his father, the real Ember, all of them whispering the same thing. Let it end. And he did. When Nathan woke up, he was lying in the woods outside the old property. The house was gone, burned to nothing. No remains, just a scorch mark shaped like a closed eye. He looked at his phone, no voicemails, no mirror reflections, just silence. He stood, bleeding but breathing, alone. Except a small hand slid into his. He turned, Ember, 5 years old again. Real, this time. Soft eyes, real warmth. "You came back," she said. He nodded. "I'm sorry," he whispered. She smiled. "I know." They stood in the clearing, and then slowly she faded. Not in pain, not in horror, like a candle finally snuffed. Out Nathan didn't cry, not yet. He walked until morning, then kept walking. 2 weeks later, detectives found an abandoned motel outside Phoenix, Arizona. Every room was empty, except room 9. Inside it, drawn on the walls in dry blood, was a message. The voice was never hers. And on the bed, Nathan's phone, still recording, playing. A vinyl voicemail, a girl's voice, soft and tired. "I'm safe now, Daddy, but you'll need to keep it locked, just for a little while longer." Final line. Gray whispers narration. Nathan closed the door, but some voices don't stay. Buried, they echo, and when they return, they never sound the same. The end.